And good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, Greg. We are live on Facebook. We're
still drinking my coffee.
That's right, still drinking your coffee. I got mine here in the Yeti. So we're in good shape. We got a full day.
We do. I'm really looking forward to this. We're going to be doing some baseball conversations this morning and tying in to what's important to us as veteran community, as well as baseball umpires. And then in the afternoon, we've got a jam-packed session to talk some veterans issues. And I'm really looking forward to a couple of sessions in the afternoon as well. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Here to support our veterans and really kind of just, talk about some good things that are going on and some ways that we can support each other. But hey, let's not delay. Let's get started because we got our man here.
Yeah, I was talking with Jim Kirk, one of our board members last night, actually this morning, and he had mentioned that we're actually accomplishing something today that nobody has tried to do yet within the the umpiring community or the baseball community. We have a summit today for 8 speakers in one day.
8 in one day.
I mean, you think about all the Zoom calls you've been on all summer long, and the speakers you listen to from time and again, and you might have like this Zoom party hour, but we've got a jam-packed day of 8 speakers all day long just to talk about issues and help some veterans. So this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I want to say we got a lot of giveaways too. So you better stay tuned because we're giving away some swag and some good equipment and all those different things. And so it's going to be pretty exciting. How will we do that? Just let everybody know how we'll do that through the day.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing some giveaways, and the first giveaway we'll do right after we're done talking with Mike. And the way that'll work is we'll come up with a question, and we will pose that question when we're all over, when this session's done. And you'll have the opportunity to post into either the Facebook comment chat or into the forum chat, and we'll pick it up. We've got our producer, Dave Pritchett, off camera here that's watching those chats, and we'll put the question up, go to break, come back, and find out who the winner was and the answer, and we'll give stuff away, starting with a brand new chest protector.
That's right. And I was sharing on 3 places. Obviously, you can watch it via the webinar. You can go to WWUA or woundedwarriorua.org to get that webinar link, or you can watch it on Facebook Live on WWUA, Wounded Warrior Umpire Academy, or you can watch it on Convene Communities as well.
That's right.
Streaming live. Let's get started.
Yeah, so the first speaker we got, you can see him on the screen there, Mr. Mike Everett. I'm not going to go through his bio. That's why we wanted to post it all up online. But an incredible man, and I'll just go volley right to you, Mike, and give you our first question of the day. So, we're a family unit here in WWUA. So tell us a little bit about who you are, your family, and we definitely want to know how you met Michelle.
Thank you, first of all, Greg. I'm really honored to be here and do this program. Your organization is incredible. I want to share what I pulled up on your website. It really kind of, struck a chord with me. It said, this program has been proven to save veterans' lives. It gives them something to do besides sitting around and just think about bad things that happen to them. It gets them out and doing something with their brothers, and also gives them that opportunity to make that call, just like when that was a testimonial that I read, and I just want to let you know how honored I am to be here. So I grew up in New Mexico, about 180 miles northwest of Albuquerque, up in the Four Corners area. Small town. My mom still lives there. I was a sport hound and played all sports, but I also got involved in music and picked up the trumpet when I was in 5th grade and ended up going to college on a music scholarship. Circled back, I used to play baseball. My favorite team, because being in New Mexico, with the Baltimore Orioles, because I love their hats. I'd collect all the hard hats at the time, put them around my room. So I love the game. I love baseball. I love basketball. Little did I know that officiating was going to become part of my life. At 12 years old, I was playing a baseball game, and we did a game down at the Little League park, and someone came over and said, hey, we need an umpire for the 8-year-olds. No one said a thing. I put my head down, and then they said, we'll give you a hot dog and a Coke. and I ran across the field 2.
12 years old.
12 years old. I ran over to field 2, and I think it's field 2. That's what I call it now. You know, Umpire School, they have different fields, so I'm just going to name it field 2.
Okay.
And went over and umpired my first game. First of all, I thought it was pretty cool. I was getting a hot dog and a Coke, and secondly, I just, as I said, love the game. So I continued to do that. Sometimes behind the mound, sometimes with a balloon behind the catcher, of course. Oh yeah. Sometimes I think you guys need to wear those now.
Yeah, some youth ball.
Yeah. So started doing that, and just off and on. I really wanted to play college baseball, but it was pretty readily known that wasn't going to happen at the level I wanted to play, because my curveball was not breaking. But I love the game, and had tremendous respect for the game, and my father always taught me good sportsmanship.
Sure.
I looked cross-eyed at an official umpire because I thought the breaking ball was a strike, and after the game, nice stern conversation with me and said, the rules, and if he says it's a strike, it's a strike. If it's a ball, it's a ball. It resonated with me, and so I continued to do Little League games when I was in high school, and then I went to New Mexico State on a music scholarship. My plans were to teach and coach phys ed and science, and that was my dream at that time. But when I got to college, I started developing a little bad habit of not going to school, not going to class.
Uh-oh.
And but I had a great experience at college. I couldn't find my niche. I couldn't find that one thing that was just had passion for. I love playing music. I love going to school, but I started working at the intramural department and officiating intramural sports, basketball, baseball, football, and started, took an officiating class and met a couple of gentlemen that I still know today. And one of them pulled me to the side and said, you ought to think about going to umpire school. Heard of it. So I looked it up, and I remember going back home and telling my dad, Dad, I have a dream here, man. I want to go to umpire school. Look at it. The joke at my house there later in my college career was, how many semesters do you have left? I would always say 3. And finally, one summer, he said, getting old, what are you doing? You need to get going.
Yeah.
Get your life together a little bit on that end. So he said, something? I'll pay your gas, and you're going to pay the tuition. I jumped in my 1978 Mercury Monarch.
Wow.
4 on the floor, and drove from New Mexico to Daytona Beach.
Wow.
1987. And I remember talking to a few guys that gave me some miles out of Daytona Beach. Stopped at a rest area, put on some the nicest pants I owned, and a tie, and because I wanted to present myself right at check-in. First appearance. So that's how I started. In 1987, I went to Harry Wendelstedt School of Umpiring. Was fortunate enough to be placed in the top 20, and then I went to another week-long school, umpire development.
Yeah.
And I was placed in the Gulf Coast League in 1987. So that's kind of how we got going.
So we're in 1987 now, but let me back you up just a little bit, because there's a key thing here that I wanted to make sure everybody knew. So you talked about, going to college on a music scholarship and things of that nature, but there's something that's really cool here. In 1982, you actually played in the Connie Mack World Series, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Well, I'll use the term play loosely. I was in the bullpen, and I actually got up, and I was throwing, and I always remember that because the told me in the dugout, "Hey, go down to get warmed up. We might need you." And I could just feel my legs shaking a little bit. I went, "Holy cow." So I mean, so I went and warmed up. But yeah, I did. In Farmington, New Mexico, their big thing there is the Connie Mack World Series.
Sure.
And so growing up there, as a kid, I always go there. Our team didn't make it. So that was a great honor and something I'll always.
Yeah. So there's a couple of correlations here that I think is kind of cool. So New Mexico State that's the Lobos, right?
Oh, Greg, we should have practiced this because this is very important that people know that it's the Aggies.
Okay.
That's our rivals, the Lobos up in.
Okay. Yeah, we should have definitely practiced that.
That's okay. I thought you might be doing it on purpose, but I appreciate that.
That's live TV.
Yeah,
so that's all.
So the cool thing is my very first Division I series that I worked was in New Mexico, and it just so happens now I live in Daytona Beach, and so I'm right around the corner from the Wendelstedt Umpire School. So the same dirt that you've traveled over the years, I've been on it as well. Obviously, several years past yours, but I'm there, and so it's I have an immediate view or vision, and I can picture. Man, I tell you what, you're driving in a car like that from New Mexico to Daytona Beach. I'm not sure who got the better end of the deal, who had to pay for the umpire school or had to pay for the gas. That had to have been a hefty bill paying for the gas.
Well, back then,
one thing I didn't have to worry about, I'm sorry, was that time of the year, but we had no air conditioner in that car.
Oh my
The
goodness.
air conditioner was rolled down the windows. So
Yeah.
by the time I got to Florida, I was pretty popular at umpire school because I had a car.
Oh wow,
I
yeah.
had to drive from the hotel to the fields.
Yeah.
Guys would always kid me, turn up the AC, and I said, "Okay, roll down the window."
yeah,
That's the AC. And
Right.
yeah, trying to get used to the heat, right? So
Yeah.
you were ready to be behind the plate, because you don't have to worry about the heat. You were acclimated.
I was, yeah.
All right. So you got your first gig in minor league baseball.
I got my first gig. It started, in Gulf Coast League, 1987. And then just started going through the leagues. I just it was, your ultimate goal is to be a major league umpire if you get out of that umpire school, and started the journey. And Midwest League. Matter of fact, one of the part of my journey was that after Midwest League, A-ball, I didn't know if the life on the road was going to suit.
Mm-hmm.
Tough. I was still young, but I took a year off. And it was kind of strange because I was told, "Hey, be careful with this." But I talked to the office, and they said you could take a leave of absence. Took a leave of absence, and then came back, and then spent 2 more years. I spent 12 total years in the minor leagues. And so Midwest League to the Texas League, and then Texas League. In between that, I moved back to Arizona with a group of umpires in the off season. In the off season we did not get paid minor league umpire, so you had to pick up different gigs, work for UPS, work at golf courses, anything to work and pay the bills. So a group of umpires moved down to Arizona for the winter. Part of my journey again was I picked up a gig called youth supervisor at a juvenile detention center
Oh, wow.
in Arizona. And you would basically go in, they like to have umpires there because the mindset of following and this and a little bit of regiment and putting these kids' lives that were going down the wrong path. And that was a holding tank for some of them that were different ages. So we worked there, and one day a juvenile probation officer walked in to talk with her caseload, and I will say her. And that just happens to be my wife now, Michelle. So the story is we met in jail. And it is a true story. So
Just
her there.
The fence.
Yeah. So then started dating, and February 17th of 1996. I didn't have to write that down. We got married.
Yeah.
Wish she was here to hear that, so she believed I right off my tongue there. February 17th, 1996, we got married. I was still minor leagues. I was in AAA at this point.
Okay.
Trying to.
Yeah.
So we are recording this, so you can forward this to her later and say, "Hey, look, I got a shout out on you right here," and it's legit. So we had a question come in that we wanted to ask you. They say that you're known for calling everybody shooter. So where did that come from, and how did that come about?
That's interesting because I don't know who asked that question, but that is a very true statement. If I am not very good at names, and so the story, a quick story about this. I was working with a gentleman named Ron Barnes, minor league umpire, and he went up and down between AAA and the big leagues at one time. And I worked with him for 2.5 years. And he was a character, and he would just, "Hey, Jim," and I'm like, "No, Ron, Mike." And so I was everybody except Mike there for a while, and then he met my wife at the time before we got married, and then after, he would call her "tall drink of water" because she's kind of tall. And so finally, I just said, "Ron, I don't get this. Is this really? Why can't you get our name? Now on, your name is Shooter." And so I kind of became like Ron Barnes. I'm not very good at names. I need to get better. So yes, everyone is Shooter.
That's awesome.
Appropriate time.
So you got that from Ron Barnes.
Ron Barnes. Yes.
All right. I think I've heard that name several times.
Yeah.
Actually, I think he's got some infamous stories from. I know our vice president, Rich Padilla. He lives on the West Coast, and I know he knows Ron. And I think I've heard some Ron Barnes stories from him. So. So that's funny how that kind of comes back together.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's cool. And you've got you've got a beautiful bride, Michelle, and you've got some kids, I think, right?
I do. Yeah, I've got. We have a daughter, 20-year-old junior in college. She's going to Grand Canyon University in Phoenix.
All right.
Yep.
And soon to be, our boy is going to be 16 on September the 11th.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Happy birthday to him.
Yes, and so. 16 and a junior in high school, so 2 juniors, and really blessed. They've been great kids. They've been kids, and and we live in Des Moines.
Yep. So back in Iowa, are they ready to have a new driver on the roads? That's the question.
Something in Iowa. Greg, it's crazy in Iowa. Start driving, they haven't changed the laws because you can drive to school when you're 14.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, so he's had a school permit, so you can go from point A to point B in the gas station. Now I'm not saying, but I am saying tracking devices, and kind of see that he varies off that point A to point B. So
yeah,
I at that time go, "Hey, this is a normal kid. I'm happy."
Yeah,
anyway, he gets his license. Yeah.
I always have one of those little. I got it from the insurance company. You stick it into the onboard diagnostic port, and it lets you know when your kids are braking too hard or accelerating too fast.
Now that's a reason why, while we're recording, I will not give that information.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Yeah, because you just gave it to your kid. That's so true. That's funny.
Yeah.
I was in Iowa one time flying an air medical flight, and the cornfields were down. And I literally picked up a guy who pulled out in front of a train. And when we pulled up to the intersection, you looked around, there was no trees. There was nothing. How he missed the train, I have no idea. I mean, it was coming, just barreled him. But he was all right. He lived. But I love Iowa. It's
Amazing.
a great place. It's a really beautiful place.
All right, Mike. So let's shift a little bit. I didn't really want to get too much into baseball, but I wanted to throw something out there for our baseball folks. There's two plays that I kind of we can kind of talk through. One I thought was very interesting and intriguing to me, and this is the one that I sent you ahead of time so that you wouldn't have to jog your memory. So for everybody that's listening, so here's kind of what happened. In 2009, it was the World Series, Game 4 between the Yankees and the Phillies, and you were working the plate, Mike. Ryan Howard was on second base. There were 2 outs. Pedro Feliz hit a single, and there was a ball thrown coming to the plate. Unfortunately, as Howard was coming into the plate for that play, he missed the plate. He didn't touch the plate on his slide, but the ball got away from Jorge Posada, and CC Sabathia ended up picking the ball up. And while Feliz was trying to stretch out a double on that play, he whipped the ball to second base. And then you ended up calling Howard safe, even though he had missed the play. So there's a couple of things going on there, and I just kind of wanted to get your take on that. I know it was 11 years ago, but even cold, that there's a couple of things going on there that I'd like to get your thoughts on and help us try to understand the rule sets that kind of go along with that play and what you were thinking at the time.
Well, and before we go over the play, sometimes in your when you're umpiring and your journey in this whole there are certain things that happen that are positive and negative as in life. And I'll tell you this play at the time. Now this is pre-replay, and of course they picked up on this after the game or a few days later. It wasn't. But I'm going to be completely honest with you guys right now. I never saw him miss.
Oh, no kidding.
So at the time, I had no idea. Then it was continuous action. So first of all, if I'm recalling the play right, I don't know if it wasn't even a close play. I don't think I can't remember, but I did give a safe signal. Listen, if you don't have a tag and you don't have him touching the plate, you shouldn't give a signal. But there was a lot of action there, and then the ball got away in a continuous action. They threw to second, I believe. If they would have appealed, if Ryan Howard just got up and went to the dugout, which he did. They would have appealed home base. I would have said safe, and I would have been wrong, because video showed later that he did not touch the plate. So if we would have been in replay era, they would have appealed, and then it would have went to headset. But I didn't, and so it's those kind of things that happen. I was asked the next day by the umpire supervisor, so sometimes things go in your favor and sometimes they don't. And so that one went in my favor. And so the whole thing about the rule there is I know rules might be different on different levels, but as long as there's continuous action, they can still appeal that missed base. So I kind of dodged one there.
Yeah. Because I know a lot of people would say, on some of these different groups, they are of the impression that the second that CC Sabathia threw the ball to second base, they've lost the right to appeal because now there's another play, and they overlook that continuous action piece.
Right. Yeah. And it exactly. And so that's importance of keeping up on the rules, and then having. I at the time didn't even know it. So I get asked about that sometimes, and I preface it by saying, hey, listen, we're all human, but sometimes you're not pointed out for something that you got wrong, which is a good thing, and then vice versa, you're not going to be cheered upon when you get everything right.
That's right.
I imagine that.
So there's There's another one that you were also part of, and I don't think this needs any introduction. Just a referral to some guy named Steve Bartman.
Steve Bartman, wow. 2003, 5 outs away from going to the World Series, the Chicago Cubs. My favorite city in the big leagues, Chicago, playing the Marlins. I had game 3 in Miami. I was left field, so long story short, I have left field. First of all, this is 2003, so kind of early on my career. Working 6-man is a little bit different. You're not used to it. Six umpires there, so I was on left field, and the crowd is probably one of the loudest I've ever heard of. 5 outs, the Cubs, all that. Minding my own business out there. Here comes a fly ball to left field, and I'm tracking it, and I'm moving. And of course, in those days, in left field, the bullpen was right there, so you kind of had a level playing field. Feel my body go over a hump, try to get set. Don't do a great job of getting completely set. The ball is right there when a fan reaches, and Lou is trying to catch the ball. And to this day, my palms still kind of sweat a little bit. Holy cow. Every time I see that, I cringe at that highlight. And so I have to make a determination if the ball's in the stands or if I have fan interference. I pointed up in the stands because of my judgment, I had fan interference. At this point, Lou, the left fielder, throws his glove to the ground, glares at me. Then, and at this point in my gut, in my heart, I'm like, here we go. Here we go.
Yeah.
This is going to be quite the argument. And
wow.
Dusty Baker comes out of the dugout. And all the focus was coming towards me. You could just feel it.
Oh yeah.
Then all of a sudden, all the focus went up.
Yeah.
And this gentleman took all of it. And
yeah.
Another defining moment of my career, because had everything went towards me, my career might be a little bit different. Game continued, and of course they had some blunders. Finish it out. Went to game 7. The third base umpire was Phildon Colbreth, a good friend of mine, Cubby, and he tells me as we're walking off, he goes, South Carolina accent, he goes, well, Shooter, we're going to find out in a hurry if you're going to be the big story. And what he meant was we're going to go down there, go down the steps into our locker room, and if we see about 50 press people there, then they're going to want some answers.
Yeah.
It wasn't one person.
Not one.
Not one.
Oh, my goodness.
No one said a thing, and everything had been.
Well, I tell you, my heart goes out to that guy. I mean, I know the Cubbies did a really good job of taking care of him, and trying to bring him back. And I think they even had gone out and given him a World Series ring when the Cubbies finally won it, and gone to do that. But a funny story with the pandemic, I saw, when I saw this on social media, and I think I saw a picture of it too, is there was some anti-Cub fans out there. And you know how in the they put the photos of fans in the seats behind home plate and whatnot. Somebody paid for that image of Steve Bartman, and they put it out in left field in Wrigley, just to mess with them. And I think there were like 10 images of him out there, and I was just, man, that guy got a lot of grief, and I think it was. All the heat and the excitement. Even then, the Cubbies organization came back and said, we blew that game. He didn't do that. It was that was all on us.
But he took all the heat for sure.
But that interesting, Mike, how you talked about how you were a fraction of a second from all that heat being on you and totally changing your career. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So let's shift from baseball a little bit, and I want to talk about as veteran community, we struggle from times to time with some of the things that we have to deal with. And, being part of the umpire community for over 40 years, in your case. So what kind of stories could you recollect about, that bond that you felt among umpires and, taking care of each other, and how has that, had a positive effect on your life?
Yeah, Greg, I think first of all that when you walk on the field or you get into umpiring or just officiating, really, you find out quickly that walk out on the field and it's two usually two against 50, and you develop a bond with your partner because listen, only you and your partner know how difficult it is to umpire or officiate because you got to be in those shoes to do it. It's hard to explain to people. And so when you have somebody going through that with you, in my case, going through the minor leagues, a lot of driving in the Midwest League, the Texas League, man, I recall so many times, finishing up in El Paso, Texas, and driving to Jackson, Mississippi, and having a game that night. And what it does, if you're with somebody that long time, you get to know the person really well. Not only umpiring, but just as a person, and those relationships that you make that they're just valuable. And I just will say this: sometimes being an umpire and living on the road, you can get isolated, and quite frankly, you have to be really careful. You can develop some really bad habits. That's because you're away from your family, you're in and out of cities, hotels, eating out. Um, and so I would just like to share with everybody the fact that I was really struggling anxiety, as things got ratcheted up and technology, and then they implemented strike zone job that I loved and have so much passion for. It became more of a grind
Mm,
to score a certain number on the machine.
sure.
Not, if you had so many missed calls, you were going to be on baseball tonight.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I recall in when I was at AAA, and I was going up and down. I was in Detroit, and I had 4 ejections
Uh,
as an umpire. It was a getaway day, and I called Michelle, and I was at the Detroit airport. And said, I just umpired my last game. I'm coming home, and I'm sure I'm done. But luckily, I had a guy by the name of Marty Springstead. He was an American League supervisor at the time, and he believed in me. And he said, I'm not going to let you end your year like that. You're going to go back up next week. You're going to work with Richie Garcia. We're going to go back to the basics. We're going to get you back in there. And I always remember that someone believed in me when I was having a tough time. And I think that's key to mentoring people, believing in them,
Yeah.
running them out there again, even after a tough game, and realizing that's just part of it. So to move on past that, as my career continued, listen, I was battling anxiety. I was wanting to be perfect at something that I couldn't be perfect. It was affecting my home life,
Yeah.
affecting my life in a negative way. So I got involved in a ministry that umpires have that's called CFC.
Yeah.
It helped me tremendously. It helped me to engage with Everett and Rob Drake started it at the time, and it kind of grew. And during the off season, have a retreat, and it was a good time to rejuice the battery. And it kind of grounded me into realizing that while the game and this profession is very important, sometimes we put it too high.
Yeah.
I was. And so the anxiety things, that's kind of the thing I was battling, and I still battled with it, but at least I had an outlet.
Yeah, and that's so important, though. Especially for us as Marines, we leave, we deploy, kind of the same thing like you. We're on the road a lot, and having that, that band of brothers, so to speak, using that term, surrounding us is so important. Having that, those people that you can lean on, just kind of like your brothers, and from umpiring, that's so important. So I think that's why with the Wounded Warrior Umpire Academy, why we find it so appealing to come back and just be part of that family, part of that network, the same way that you are, because I think umpires are, just like that. They're part of a family.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so important. And we always are, as a, academy, constantly saying that, umpiring in baseball is just it's our excuse to bring veterans together and try to do that peer-to-peer support. So that positive influence in your life, and being able to break it down to the smallest things that you can handle and take care of the things you can take care of, and let everything else go. It's that's a tough thing. So kind of along that same lines, many of us, that have been deployed, maybe we've lost somebody that was close to us. Maybe we trained with them for months and months and months on end. Maybe we've been in the same unit with them for years, and you develop that great bond, and then all of a sudden something happens and you lose them, and then you end up with survivor's guilt, and in some of those cases, the service members will etch that date in their hearts for the rest of their lives as their alive day, because they believe they should have gone at the same time, if not them. Why their buddy? So last year we lost Eric Cooper, and I know he was a close personal friend of yours, both of you guys from Iowa. Can you share just a little bit about your relationship with Eric, and what you've been able to do to kind of comfort yourself in this horrible loss?
Yeah, something. As I transitioned off the field, I watched the guys work. Patches that they're wearing. One of Mary Cooper, Chuck Merriweather, and Rick Reed. Three guys who that I knew really well personally. How fragile life is. Harry Cooper and I met. I was in the Midwest League. I had a Mazda D210 or a truck with a little camper.
Sure.
I got called by one of the best league presidents ever, Mr. George Spilius. He called me and said, "Hey, Mike, you're getting a new partner. Cooper." Okay, went and picked him up. Harry Cooper. I was not living in Iowa. Met Eric Cooper, and we're partners. We right away got to know each other pretty well. Right away, you could tell that Eric Cooper was a very talented umpire. We would take turns getting in front of the mirror in Super 8 hotels in Midwest Wisconsin, practicing our strike mechanics and our strike three. And the guy loved the game. The guy loved the profession. His goal was clear. He was going to make it to the major leagues. Mm-hmm. He became just a good friend of mine. He got promoted for me. His talent level was really, really exceptional. He worked very hard at his craft. He was a people person. He loved to talk to people. Riser at that time, I was a sleep-in guy. Sometimes I'd wake up, open up the windows, and we'd drive right up to our doors at the hotel there. Sun rays. He loved to lay out and get prawns, and he just was a special guy.
Yeah.
Of course, and
Yeah, you cut out really bad there. So we've been having some in and out audio, so we apologize about that. But if you could repeat maybe the last couple of seconds there of what you said.
yeah, and I apologize. I hope that doesn't continue. Coop and I, we just continue to develop our relationship, our friendship. And then when I moved back to Iowa, got married. I was married. Our kids were kind of different ages, so that part of it didn't friends as we used to be during the off season. But it's tough to talk about. It's not really tough to talk about. It's just very surreal on how this happens.
Yeah.
Then I was in Houston and finished the last game of the playoff last year. Got on the plane to fly home with my wife. I had seen him 2 weeks earlier. We'd meet for coffee with Tim McClellan.
Sure.
Talk about life, and I knew he was struggling with some things, and a couple of surgeries, and then had a blood clot. It was just very shocking, very sad, and I think what has helped me now cope and deal with that is his father and stepmom live probably half a mile from me. His mom lives about 5 miles from me. I told them when this happened, I got after I got off the plane, I went right to their house. I said, "I'll do it." They took me up on that, and I'm fortunate to do that because I'm helping them try to get through this, and it's helped me and remind me that serving others is really a great thing to help along with the grieving process.
Yeah. Yeah, that's also true for transitioning service members. When you transition, you realize you got to realize that you're not alone. And when you get into the service of others, like what we try to do here at the academy, it does something for you, and it helps you quite a bit. And I apologize to our listeners. We've had your audio coming in and out, and I was still able to make out kind of what you're talking through. And I apologize, I didn't want to interrupt you, but some really great stuff. And I know this is not the last time that Mike Everett and the WWUA Umpire Academy are going to come together.
Yeah.
And Mike, I know that was probably pretty challenging for you to take a couple of deep breaths to talk about Coop, but I thought that was important for us because we've got, we all have somebody that we remember that we served with that was very close to us, and it's very, very impactful on our lives. And
yeah.
And having you talk about that, and being there in service of others to help out his parents now, and the charities that you're working through. I understand we're organizing a bowling tournament, I think, or something along those lines. So, but thank you again so much for all you do. And when you reached out to me last year after an Instagram post and said, "Hey, whatever you need me to do, I'm on board. I want to help in any way I can," and we've stayed in contact, and I appreciate that. That means a lot to me, and it.
Yeah,
and I know we'll find a good place, and we'll continue this relationship, and see you with the Wounded Warrior Umpire Academy down the road. So, parting words for our alumni.
Something I I'm just so honored. And Greg, you know, when I reached out to you, I hope I know this relationship will continue. I can't wait to see what the next step brings. I will say this to everyone. Failure is tough. It's tough, but without it, you don't have success. You just don't get all the time, but it's true. And can't be afraid to fail. It's hard. It's hard to just fall down, but get back up and having people to support you, as we said, that's the key for me. And sometimes I'm kind of an individual isolate, but if you don't have support on the backside, it's just so much more.
Sure.
All the veterans, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your service, and I would be honored to walk on that field with you anytime, and I hope to do that sometime.
Well, I think we can make that happen.
We definitely can make that happen. That's great. Yeah, thanks for taking the time out to talk to us. It's been wonderful.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
It's been great. I appreciate it, Mike, and we'll circle the wagons and catch up with you real soon.
Thank you guys very much.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. That was awesome.
So that was pretty good. Yeah, again, apologize for everybody on the audio coming in. We were doing everything we could to try to, adjust volumes and knobs on our end. And David had some good ideas we were trying on that end. But when you're engaged in the interview like that, that Mike's he's engaged, so he's not checking his phone for his text messages. But so I hope you guys got plenty out of that, because, oh, man, I did.
Yeah, that's really cool. And we could go on for hours. We did the whole morning session with just him, and just the things that we could learn from him would be incredible. So, really, really awesome.